Just for 1988, hosted by the Ottawa Stingers. I'm Earl Kane, along with my co-host Dan Thompson, the player coach for the London Blue Turtles. Dan, who will decide third and fourth place overall between the Ottawa Stingers and the Toronto Bulldogs in red?
Okay, basically, I think this one has to go with Ottawa first. They've seen a personnel change here in that Judy Zellman, who's their star player, was in a car accident. She broke her foot and also broke her hand. So I think the key people look around to the lineup there, please. If you could turn the camera around, please. There, okay.
We'll get a shot of that momentarily.
24. He's classified as a 1. You'll see him carrying the ball. They have a new player, number 34, and her name is. She's a really good player. Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with her last name. Bill Paul, who's a KG veteran. He's number 24. He's an excellent player. And they're not going to need a mic, are they? Okay. Basically, Brian McDonald, the gentleman in the white that you see on your screen right now, he's been on the. He's a key player to look for as well.
So, for the Toronto team now, Jimmy Lackus has 38 goals. Dog and scoring as far as this tournament goes.
Sure, like what you'll find is that you'll have a lot of players. For example, we showed a minute ago on the player coach, and it's 1A. So a lot of what I should be doing is setting text or blocks, just like you would in football, where you're setting up like a screenplay. Four players like Jimmy who are carrying and score the ball. Jimmy sort of runs the show. Essentially, he does, but with the assistance of having the blocking from the other players.
So it's a team game, like any other team game. The scorers might get the glow. You know what's going on, and the players have to do those type of blocking and picking that the average viewer might pick up.
Exactly. Goals. I'll try to indicate, where a good pick was
right.
Block. And basically what they're doing is just setting up blocks, just like they would in football, like I said before, right? I find myself it's an excellent. I'm familiar with it. We will refresh you with the rules as time goes on. Okay. So, but Jimmy Lackus, I say, would be the main scorer on the Toronto Red team. What's unique about the Toronto team? Had a roster of 12 people, and what they've done is divided that roster into two teams. So they've come here with two squads. They had a Toronto Red and they had a Toronto White squad, and consequently the Red squad obviously was here in the bronze medal round. Unfortunately, the White team, lost out, and they beat us actually. The side who came in fifth.
Let's run down how the Ottawa Stingers fared in the tournament play. The Stingers yesterday against the Toronto Red Bulldogs, and they beat them 13-11. And the Stingers played the London Blue 22-16.
Well, if I could recap on the first game, anyhow, when they played against the Toronto Red team, I think the only difference in the game was, Ottawa's been playing for 12, 13 years now. Like I mentioned before, the Toronto Red team has divided the roster into two, so you're dealing with a lot of newer players who haven't there. It's similar to basketball, but instead of scoring 2 points, you score 1 point for a goal. So consequently, when there's like a 2 or 3 point difference, it's almost like a 6, or a 4 point difference in basketball, which obviously makes all the difference.
Right. After in the championship, Ottawa Stingers lost to Windsor's Bulldogs 2017.
Again, there, I think Windsor's been playing together for another. And I keep making the announcement. Play a cohesive group. If the things aren't working well, and with Windsor, they've got Don Bell, who's a really good player. You're going to see him in the gold medal game. You've got Harry DeBrune, who's an excellent player. He's a 1B, he's got fantastic balance. And then you're looking at Mike Lajoie as well, or Mike, I should say, Larachelle, and he's an excellent they've still got some bench strength. They've got Nick Rion sitting on the bench and a couple other players. Ottawa here has had some personnel changes that will screw up in the roster compared to Windsor, who's coming full force into this tournament.
Now, Toronto's road started off, as I mentioned, playing the Stingers, losing 13-11. And then they played the London Blue Turtles, and they beat 27-13. They went over the Champlain gym, which we're at now, yesterday, and played the Trojans and lost 25-17. There was some controversy with the...
not necessarily with the Trojan team themselves, but just the way the system was set up. The way the organizers of this tournament set things up was that it was supposed to be third seed, and that was based on last year's performance. Our team, for example, was seeded third, and the only reason we were seeded third is because we had some of the Trojan players on our team. Changes. The second team was Toronto, and there was some controversy because they divided their squad up into two. Why was one squad in first place? Why was one squad in... Ottawa won it last year, so automatically they should be in the first round as well. And then the way things were set up too, there was, instead of having a crossover where the winner of the place team of the B division and vice versa, basically what would happen is the fifth and sixth place teams were automatically given to the second and third place. So there was some controversy. We had a coaches meeting on Friday evening. Things got straightened out, and that's why you see the teams here today.
All right. Now, there's classification A, B, and C. Maybe you can explain to the audience a bit about that.
Basically, it's based on level of ability or disability, depending on how you look at it. The three players are on your screen right now. Number 11 in the middle, Bill Powell. He is a 1A. Now we've gone off the screen, so I'll just try to give you the background. A 1 as well as a little bit more wrist extension, okay, and possibly some hand movement. And then, of course, a 1C would have much better balance, have a little bit more, wrist flexion, wrist extension, and that way, obviously have the advantage. What happens, though, is that you're allowed 3 points for a 1C, 2 points for a 1B, 4 players on the court at any given time, so you're allowed an 8-point total. So in other words, you could have 2 C's and 2 A's. You could have a 4B lineup, okay, 1C, 1B, and 2 A's, which would be a weaker line because it'll only be a total points of 7. But overall, you're allowed 8 points on the court at any given time.
So it doesn't have to be 8. It just...
Yeah. But you couldn't have like 3 C's out there and an A, for example, because that would be a total of 10 points on the court, which would be a disadvantage to the opposing team. So, like I said, I'm a 1A myself, and with my level of disability, I can compete, with that parameter because it makes it fair for everybody.
Well, we're just getting ready to start today's game between the Ottawa Stingers and the Toronto Bulldog Red team. Ottawa looks like Saline Pajot, Mike Lajoie, Bill Powell, and the captain, Ken Young. Toronto is bringing out Tam Simpson, Jimmy Tam, is it Tam? Tam Simpson. Number 20, Jimmy Lackett.
If I give you a rundown, because I'm familiar with the players, you've got Dale Critton, then you've got Jimmy Lackett, number 20. He's the one that we mentioned before, and how he's going to be scoring a lot of goals. You also have Tam Simpson. I can't see your number right now. I think it's number 30. He's a newer player, the guy with the mustache. I mentioned about Toronto having a newer player. I can't see his number.
That's Dennis Mackey.
Dennis Mackey.
Lajoie takes summons pass 2. He's got an opening. Tried. He's blocked.
Okay. What was...
It's been changing the direction of the person's wheelchair.
Exactly.
Throw to Simpson. Simpson coming up court with Lackas. Dribbles, gets fresh 10 seconds on the clock. Cannot be in possession with the ball for more than 10 seconds.
You notice the maneuverability of Jimmy going from side to side as his blockers set the fix for him. You can see without Crittenden on the right-hand side of your screen trying to... He's going to try and... Now you see Dale on the right-hand side coming around the right-hand side. And there you go. See how he scored a goal on the right-hand side? That's the first goal of the game. Right. Because of the...
So now there'll be a throw in from the end line.
Now the red team, the Toronto team, yeah, basically what they're doing is they're pressing, okay, and they're trying to box the black team in.
Powell with
He's done.
bounces and he's clear for the goal. It's all tied up at 1.
What's interesting about a team when they press, if it's effective, you look like a hero. However, if it breaks down like it did there, it makes you look awfully foolish because as Bill comes down and scores the goal, everything breaks down.
Throw in from the end line to Lacus, from Lacus to Simpson. Lacus going to the right side now, veers left.
Now you can see there Ken Mackey on your screen, or Dennis Mackey, I'm sorry, trying to pick out the rover. You know. And again, Jimmy will just go back and forth until the openings will arise. See Tam will try and block. Here comes Jimmy in the right-hand score, and he sneaks in on the left-hand side.
On the left side. For the Toronto Bulldogs.
Maybe
now they're pressing right here.
Yeah, same press situation. See, it may not be as glamorous as it is sort of zip down the court, but it's very effective. Zigzagging back and forth and having ball control.
They have 15 seconds.
Now, that was a very, very, very good, effective press on Toronto's part. Before the press was broken, but as you can see now, Ottawa doesn't look quite as formidable.
Lacus with the ball, waiting for an opening. Doesn't have.
Dennis Mackey here better get out soon, or he's going to be called for 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
In fact, he just did get called for 10 seconds. See, that's that. If the players come up and try to establish the fix, that's a good idea, but it's up to those ball carriers to try to get in there and score.
Sting. Open to Powell. Powell blocked off. Back to Peugeot. Simpson coming over to blocker. Couldn't hang on to that one. Simpson tries to pick up the ball. It might be a held ball here.
Might call a jump ball here.
Looking for someone open. Ottawa doing a good job of covering all the men. Lacus didn't see that pass, heading for the dead ball. And that's the dead ball.
Basically, what you had, yeah, what you had there was a press situation. Okay. Lacus, unfortunately, was not aware of the pass. He had a miscommunication and it broke down, and that's why Ottawa's press was effective.
Bit of room for Ken Young, the captain of the Stingers. Lacus coming over to cut him off.
Don Johnson.
Correct.
Excellent. Same idea there. Okay, you've got the Toronto Stingers, and because of their press situation, basically they've shut them down, and they get the turnover. You got to remember, in this game, you're dealing with disabilities that don't have, especially with the 1As and 1Bs, and because of that, if you can press effectively, anytime there's a pass, there's a chance of dropping the ball and seeing a turnover. Again, Jimmy's just going to keep going back and forth. This time, Dennis, I think, Now, see how he's backed into him? A very effective pick. Because when he backs in like that, he has the maneuverability to come back out. Dale's waiting for...
Simpson and Pajot.
Yep. But that's okay. That sort of jockeying goes on all the time. You know? I mean, that's the battle that goes on the whole time. Meanwhile, you see Dennis making the pick here. You also see Dale coming across. And Tam and Pajot will make it there. Then Jimmy, if he has the hole, will come across the far side. He does not. Toronto has controlling this ball. Now, some people may think there's a delay game, but unfortunately at this point in time, there is no rule change for that.
Well, there is a stalling rule.
What it is, proving that you're not actually going in and scoring a goal. Okay. Now, that sort of backfired on Toronto because Pajot got off the... You mentioned before, came across and put her hand on the ball to cause the jump ball situation.
So now it's...
The reason it's Ottawa's ball is that we do an alternating process, which means that, you know, one time Toronto will get the... It was Ottawa's turn to get the ball.
Now it's Toronto's ball from the center court position. Front court. Simpson to take the throw in.
Simpson has the ball. Now I noticed that Tam is a little intimidated, a little tentative. She will go back and forth, and she has a lot more maneuverability than what Jimmy Lackas has. However, will actually set things up. Going for, you see Jimmy making a pick on Pajot.
Simpson still circling, dribbles, gets fresh 10 seconds. Now Pajot coming out. And you're not allowed to stock all your 4 defensive players in the key.
You can't. No, you're only allowed 3 men in the key, and 1 man has to stay out. That's why Pajot's staying out there. If Pajot was to come into the key, men in the key, and of course there'd be a penalty, and she would have to sit off for a minute.
Now we got a foul.
Pajot making the throw in now. For the spinning call. Okay. Basically what happened there was Jimmy Lackas got his... Yeah, can we have a replay on that one, please? Oh, okay. Sorry. All right, resuming back to play now. I guess we'll get back to the replay later.
So Jimmy Lackas is off for a minute in the penalty box, and the Stingers have a 4-on-3 power play.
You come back to that again. I'll show you the spin play.
Pajot, 2 on.
Because Pajot, she better take her 10-second bounce, or she might be called here. No, I guess.
2-all now. 2:15 left in the first quarter of play. Simpson to number 21.
You have to remember that Ottawa Stinger.
We're going to have a replay of the goal coming up.
Here comes the goal. Pajot coming up. Notice how Don Johnson made the block. Very effective. That's what makes it so important for those blocks out there. That's how the live scorers get to come in and score.
Simpson blocking Pajot. Black is being very patient, waiting for the... Tries the left side. Nothing there. We'll circle around. He's directing traffic now. Out his players where he wants their picks to happen.
There's a pick right there by Dale Crinton. For a minute, then he'll come back in whenever he gets a chance and try to make the pick again on Don Johnson. Meanwhile, Tam will keep Pajot occupied. Tam Simpson from Toronto Bulldogs. Dennis Mackey, see you got the matchup there. See O'Brien McDonald, actually he's playing his corner very effectively. If you back into somebody with your back wheels, you have to get out there and get enough play. However, if there's a difference between you picking somebody and somebody picking you, and that's what's happening right there. You can see how Brian's got his back wheels into Dennis here. Set it in the left-hand corner of your screen here, viewers. And that sort of thing is very, very effective, and that's why Jimmy can't find a hole to come in right now. Broke down and scored on the right-hand side. Seems to be a bit of controversy here.
Referees conferred there momentarily. And we have a replay of this.
Okay, you see it coming around the right-hand side. See the block by Dale Crittenden, had him. You see Don trying to get it. And Don was disputing there was the fact that Jimmy was bobbling the ball. And just like in football, obviously, if you don't have completion of it, you know, then that's when the turnover occurs. But obviously, the official.
Now we have a throw-in the front court for Toronto. Simpson to take the throw-in. Directing traffic, bounce pass. Simpson retrieves it. Pajot into the block.
Actually has two people tied up here.
Simpson breaks free. Fresh 10 seconds on the clock.
One thing you have to remember, with the chair, you're covering a lot more area.
And that's the end of it.
I'm just saying that you have to remember with the chair, you're covering a lot more area. Okay, it's not like as if we were playing basketball and you're establishing a lane and that sort of thing, whatever. Because, as you saw there, Pajot, because of the proximity of where they were. If you get people tied up close to you, then there's nowhere for them to go. Unlike able-bodied sports where you can sort of squeak through the middle. So,
now as you can see, the score is up. Toronto Bulldogs ahead 3-2 at the end of the first quarter. Pass the ball to court. You can't go across the...
No, there's no offside like there is in hockey or whatever. If you want to send somebody down like in hockey, there's no problem with that. Okay, as far as passing the ball, you're allowed to pass it any way you want. You can bat the ball, you can headbutt it, whatever. Okay, obviously if somebody has a little bit of leg movement, some of these players can actually walk. You know, they've just, because their quads, all four limbs are affected. You know, any way possible. Is that you have to cross over with your front two wheels, back two wheels, or side two wheels. I'm sure it'll occur at some point in time in the game here where the officials call defending out of bounds. If I'm a defender and I'm defending, you know, in my goal area, any part of my wheelchair on the line, yeah, and if I have my wheelchair on the line, or you know, if any part of me is touching outside of the key, and an opposing player, okay, you know, I think we've seen a spin call before. We were going to get a replay on that, but basically,
I'm sure we'll see one again.
Right, exactly. I'm sure we'll see one again. If there's a spin on that, basically what happens is the person's ejected for a minute penalty, and then, or you know, when a goal is scored, you know, so there's shorthanded goals as well. It's kind of a neat game. What I'm really excited about incorporates football with the blocking and also sort of the playmaking, and incorporates basketball skills because it is an actual court game, and then you see some elements of hockey in there as well, you know.
Pajot of the Stingers to number 19, Brian McDonald. McDonald to Lajoie. He can take advantage of it. Lacus comes over to catch.
Oh, try to make the pass there. Players will try to keep them tied up. Jimmy seems to be breaking free here. He's going to have to take a 10-second bounce, though. The officials seem to be a little lenient on the 10-second bounce. It's it's been my experience in the years of playing that if you have a breakaway 10-second mouse, they usually will call it. You know, if it's close to it, obviously, like, you know, with 9 or 10 seconds.
Simpson looked like she had room. But Pajot, now she goes back to the left side. Can Pajot back there? No, it's the goal.
Now you notice here how Brian McDonald got picked out of the key area. Now Brian's been playing a really good game up to. If you actually get picked out of the key area, that's when the defense breaks down, because you want to set up that wall, you want to set up that perimeter, and don't let anybody get inside. And of course, have the rover outside and stirring up, you know, some trouble out there for the opposing team coming in.
Now a throw in to the near side. And Lajoie couldn't hang on.
Simpson should have a gimme here. She should be able to get off Pajot, no problem. See the block there? But
now she has number 11.
That should have been called a spin.
Carrie Doucette. And it's called a jump ball by the referee.
Yeah, that should have been called a spin, if, you know, sort of thing. For what happened there, Pajot spun her in and then put the hand on the ball to get the jump.
Simpson, Delacus.
One thing I find a little different about the spinning rule is that it's very discretionary. You know, some people call it if you so much as touch the player. Other people, you can spin them 300. You know, they still won't call it. You know what I mean? But as long as the referees are fairly consistent, then the players don't seem to mind, eh? You know, it's when they sort of take favoritism to one team. It's get a little heated.
Players get frustrated not knowing if the referee's not consistent, then they want the calls for their teams.
Exactly. Again, you see Jimmy doing the same thing, back and forth, back and forth. He'll continue this all game long until Ottawa does something else to challenge it. See, now you see Pajot coming in. Now, by keeping the back, there's no way that she can get at the ball without either fouling him by reaching in and actually hitting him, or, you know, with him having the maneuverability to get off. You see Jimmy's going to cut back. Just keeps going back and forth. Just keeps going back and forth.
Now Simpson has Pajot effectively cut off.
What happened there was Kerry got called for 10 seconds in the key. He's the man on the right-hand side with the beard.
Kerry Crittenden, number 11.
No, it's still Crittenden. Kerry, I'm not sure Kerry's last name.
Kerry Doucette. Excuse me. Pajot to take the throw in. Brian McDonald. A little too far.
That was an excellent play. Picked by Dennis Mackey to prevent Brian McDonald from getting the ball. Again, that could have been a discretionary pick. Or, I mean, a discretionary spinning play. It all depends on the ref. So far today, they seem fairly lenient and fairly consistent as what they're doing.
Ball goes out of bounds, and it's called
red ball. That's
ball.
Because it was off Brian McDonald. You know, same type of turnover situation.
From that line. And Pajot steals the ball. Looks like Simpson's getting the gate for holding.
Yep.
She'll sit out a minute.
Okay, now there's a difference between holding and picking. Okay. Chair and physically hold somebody that way. However, if some players who are like more C's or B's who have hand function, you're not allowed to physically reach out, nor are you allowed to hit the player themselves.
And there's a
goal by Lajoie.
Easy goal for Lajoie with
well, basically,
4 and 3.
because it is a blocking type situation, it's just like you don't see a man sitting off for a penalty. That's why when they set a penalty, they set you back 10 yards or 15 yards. If you were to do the same thing in football, field, what you've got basically is 4 players up on 3 players in Toronto.
And Simpson just couldn't get to that ball. It goes over the deadline. And this should be Pajot goes over to take the throw in. Quickly to Lajoie. Lajoie heads up court.
They might call that over and back. Yeah, red ball on the side.
Red ball on the side.
Because it was off of the Ottawa. Ottawa was taking possession, I should say, of the ball, whatever. It would have been an over and back call.
Right. Simpson to Lacus. Pajot comes out the black. Helps out and blocks off Pajot. Lacus breaks free. Lacus tries the left side.
He's getting a little frustrated here. He's going back and forth.
Oh, they called him out of bounds. Yeah, tough break for Lacus.
Jimmy's getting a little rattled. He made a mistake by not keeping an eye on where he is, and consequently he hit the out of bounds, and there's a turnover. Ottawa gets the ball.
Now it's a timeout called by
Toronto.
Toronto. Minute timeout. Each team is allotted 4 timeouts per game.
Paul Spirinowski, he's the national coordinator for rugby. And he's also the Toronto Bulldogs coach. And because of that, he's a KG veteran. He sees that his players are getting rattled, and because of that, talk it over, get his players settled down, and get their heads back in the game.
As you can see on your screen, the score in the second quarter with 4:50. Toronto Bulldogs 5, Ottawa Stingers 3. Yeah, it seems like Jimmy Lacus has a bit of, the expression goes, he gets frustrated and can...
Well, not necessarily him as a person, but, it is a frustrating situation where it's such a aren't playing as a cohesive unit, as I've said several times before. Things break down. And as a ball carrier, he's only as good as his blocking. And as a blocker, you're only as good as your ball carrier. Second for 10 is very frustrating. If you're a ball carrier, you're looking to score a goal, and the picks just aren't there. Again, same situation, becomes very frustrating. McDonald. Brian should have a give-me goal here. Again, there's a spin call. Yeah. Blatantly obvious spin, okay? Because he to the degree they call it a spin. The reason of that is Brian McDonald had positioning there ahead of Dennis Mackey, and because of that positioning call, they call it 360.
So it looks like they awarded the goal.
Yes, in that situation, when they're right down in the key area, it's actually a goal. However, half court, then they would have given Dennis Mackey a minute penalty.
Pop pass from Crittenden.
There you go. Notice how Tam has the positioning now? That's a goal. Should give that a goal. Same play. Dennis Lenz, back-to-back goals.
Yeah. 6-4 now, Toronto over Ottawa. Pajot from the end line. Bounce pass to Lajoie. Lajoie being blocked off effectively by Lacus. Help out.
Lajoie
just
called timeout. Can you do the play-by-play? It's up to you, whatever.
I'll take the play-by-play.
No problem. Okay, call a timeout here. Obviously the same situation. You're allowed 4 timeouts per game. You're allowed 2 timeouts per half.
What was that? 6-4 Toronto over Ottawa in the second quarter. Out on the floor. Ottawa coach wanted to talk it over.
Same idea. Like I said before, you've got 4 timeouts per game, 2 timeouts per half. You might as well get your head in the game and think things out. Because like I said, 1 or 2 goals difference, and that's basically the game right there, and it's all over. It's very difficult to climb back on top, especially with more...
Black is coming over to block Lajoie.
And you notice,
tied up by Simpson.
notice Jimmy keeps it up. Notice Jimmy's going to try. He won't hit the ball. Same thing here with Tam. Tam has positioning on the chair. We'll try to hold her.
Don Johnson scoots it.
Now, the breakdown there was not necessarily with Cam Simpson staying on Pajot. That was a good play. However, somebody else missed, and Don Johnson was free and could come in and score. Foul. Foul.
There you see the pop pass on the Don Johnson.
There's a foul right there. Mike.
And Lajoie will sit out.
Lajoie.
So, Lack.
Go here, no problem. It's the same situation. Have a 4-on-3 situation. There should be an instant goal. There it is, right there. Ooh, should be there. Brian McDonald made a smart play.
Gets over across. Now she has to watch herself not to reach in here.
Again in that corner. He had himself positioned, so he's facing away from the play, and it's very difficult to make that type of pass, especially over the treetops when you're going to or get down.
Lacus to take the throw in the front court for Toronto. Toronto looking for a goal here with the man advantage.
There should be a pick right there in the middle.
Now they set it up in the middle. There's the
goal. Squeak through. Squeak through. See, the blocks just aren't getting there. Dennis Mackey's an unexperienced. As you can see, he's a KG veteran, and because of that situation, they're not getting Jimmy's not getting the blocks he needs, even on a 4-on-3 situation.
Lajoie dribbles, gets 10 seconds. Now he can go for it. He'll have to watch his 10-second foul. But it's a goal.
It was not the Lajoie's amazing wheeling speed, but you must have noticed that there was a block there by Pajot and Simpson that created that hole, and then, of course, Mike had the open hole to come straight through.
Seven 6 Toronto over the Ottawa Stingers. Black.
What the official's calling right there is contact before the whistle. You're allowed to pick, you're allowed to hold. But on you, and I held you before the ball was even in the play, that would create an advantage or disadvantage, you know, for whatever team. Obviously, an advantage.
Possession and throw, and they gave Ottawa the
Ottawa's play. They're just not allowed to hit the person ahead of time. So what happened? There was a goal there by Lajoie. So what happens there is that there's a warning the first time, the second time, any other penalty involved.
There was some more contact.
Before, there you go.
The replay of the goal.
Yep.
Lajoie. So there's a penalty now.
Penalty now. Remember I
so
said before the
first
first time was the warning, and now again. Now Toronto has the extra man advantage. They've switched off of Dennis, or Dennis is back in there. I'm sorry, Dennis is still in there. So we'll see if Dennis can create a. Notice how Rick Ketche has his back turned again. Same thing Brian McDonald was doing before. Don Johnson, however, here you see him struggling. He's actually picked. Official was 10 in the key. Again, the risk you take when you go in there and set the picks, obviously if you get stuck in there for any more than 10 seconds, then there's turnover. Now Ottawa has the ball.
Throwing. We have a replay of 10-second in the key, and they were trapped in there.
That was contact. Now we're going to have an even situation with 3-on-3.
Dennis Mackey gets the gate for Toronto. And when he or Mackey, and then Ottawa will have the advantage. Right now it's 3-on-3. Pop pass too far for number 12, Don Johnson.
Red ball on the side of the other without contacting anybody. The ball comes back out on the same side of the court.
Black is give and go.
You notice the maneuvering, same idea. You try to create a 2-on-1 at all times. There's a blocking right there in the middle. Excellent play there. Finally, he got the blocking. Notice that Tam Simpson picked out Mike Lajoie in the middle, as well as Carrie Doucette blocking Don Johnson on the right-hand side, which allowed Jimmy to squeak out through the middle.
Now the referees, and we'll wait for their decision. So Lynn comes back on the floor, and no, they're changing their mind again.
Because Paul's a little more knowledgeable than some of the referees, you got to remember this is a volunteer organization, so that is knowledgeable as, say, a professional sport. Sometimes Paul's a little more helpful than what he should be. Now you notice that you're going to see that Ottawa is going to set up their baseline. Toronto's going to be able to throw the ball in bounds. Better watch don't get called for it.
Black is throwing the ball. More contact before
the whistle.
So for Ottawa, and will be.
I find it interesting that with the spinning situation, which again is a physical type of call, seems so far, and yet they're very specific on contact before the whistle.
Simpson now with 3-on-2. This should be a sure goal for Toronto.
Goal follows out almost.
He's in
for the easy goal. I think Pajot will come back on, and Lajoie will stay out for the remainder of the penalty.
Toronto. Ottawa's ball.
Maneuvering. They're going to try to jockey for position.
Long pass for Powell.
Bill with the hands can pick.
And Powell's in there for the score.
That was an excellent play by Bill Powell. Excellent play. Notice that he had the positioning ahead of Perry to begin with. Bobbled the ball up a little bit, but because he already had the positioning, it was very easy for him to scoop the ball up and score the easy goal.
Simpson takes the throw in. Black is heading up court. Slowing things down now. Now he picks up his pace.
He should be just waiting for his picks to be established instead of going back and forth. And drive through here. Jimmy's got a lot of strength and comes through, no problem. What's ironic about that 10-8 lead by the Toronto Bulldogs, and in the earlier game, you have to remember that Ottawa beat Toronto, to move on and advance. Ottawa actually had an opportunity to win the gold medal round, but then because they lost to Windsor, that's what screwed their chances there.
Lacus now to take the throw in from front court. Back to Lacus.
There we go, and Dennis Mackey is back on.
Mackey comes
by the officials. So again, with the alternating process, this time it's been awarded to the Ottawa Stingers.
Powell to take the throw in.
You'll notice that they've got 4-on-2 as far as defending is concerned right now.
There's the
and because of that, there's
the ball
turnover. Sorry. I wish I had been.
Simpson to take the throw.
Dennis Mackey's going to block right in. Got again a 4-on-3 situation. The penalty from Lajoie should be expired fairly soon.
Lajoie getting ready to come up.
By Jimmy Lacus. Now for sure Mike Lajoie is back on, because the penalty's nullified once the goal is scored.
Throw in from the inline. Bill Powell. Pajot.
Pajot's going to try to go up the left-hand side, to the far side of the court. Just smooth sailing, makes the pass
Nice
inside.
Free and clear for the goal. Nice pass by
You notice
Pajot
on that
there.
same play, same thing happened again. Pajot had the outside lane. She tries to wheel up there, score the goal. You know she's going to probably broke down was in the middle. Somebody should have picked up Mike Lajoie there.
That's 10 seconds. They have to get the ball in 10.
Yep. Good call by the officials. Equipment timeout. Jimmy Lackas needs to that, especially if a player gets dumped out of his chair. They take a few minutes, get him back in, get him adjusted, and we're all set.
So the referees keep their times in their head for the 10-second rule.
Exactly.
Over the center rule, you have to bring the ball over your own center line within 15 seconds.
And 10 seconds with the ball, that sort of thing. As you can see on the score here, we have Toronto Bulldogs. I find that very, very interesting in lieu of the fact that, Ottawa Stingers have been playing together for quite a few years. I think themselves that they should have more of a commanding lead to what they have right now. But
they really miss...
Again, because of the lineup changes, like I mentioned before, you're going to see a shake-up in the personnel. And obviously, Toronto has improved, it seems to me, better than the Ottawa Stingers have. Proof of the pudding is in the score, 11-9 for Toronto Bulldogs on top.
Pajot to take the throw in. Powell, bounce pass to Lajoie. Lajoie cut off by Lackas.
Nice play by Jimmy Lackas there.
And the ball goes over the...
Because Tam and Pajot had the same type of blocking going on the left-hand side of the screen, Jimmy was sort of stuck there in the middle, and he came out and created something before Ottawa had a chance to develop it.
Pop pass from Lackas to Simpson. Beautiful place, beautiful pass. Pop pass.
Excellent pass. Yeah. Again, Tam, because she's ahead of her, there's nothing that Pajot can do once the back wheels are turned.
Now Powell with the ball. Good pick by Lajoie.
Take a 10-second bounce.
There's the 10-second foul.
There you go. That's the first time the officials have called it. Remember, I've called it 3 times there or whatever.
So it'll be Toronto's throw-in.
Bill should know better than that. He's been on the Ontario team for several years. He's been playing, I think, for 12. That's sort of a rookie mistake for a veteran.
31 seconds left in the first half of play. Toronto leads Ottawa 12. Simpson was blocked off effectively by Pajot and as a result could not get to that ball.
Exactly. That's the difference between Jimmy sort of put it down the court. Tam had positioning and scored the goal, unlike this time where Pajot had her tied up, and of course consequently no goal.
Take a throw in for Ottawa. With a pass. Tries to cut into the middle, is cut off by Lackas.
Dennis Mackey tipping the ball to Simpson. That was a smart play by Dennis Mackey, even though he's in a situation like that, it's very difficult to have the time and the luxury for a player to actually pick the ball up and get it. So what he did was to make the smart heads-up play, passed it off to Simpson, she scooped it up, and then of course there was a turnover. And then now process.
Lackas take the throw in. Simpson was tied up by Pajot, couldn't get to that ball. The end line.
Okay.
And it'll be Ottawa's
trying
ball.
a little bit of different strategy now. You notice that there's 11 seconds left in a half, and within the last 2 minutes, what they've tried to do is do those dump passes. And one of the 3 times they've been effective, the other 2 times have not. But also, you have to remember that they're using a smart play, and with the luxury of having a 3-goal lead.
Pajot into Lajoie. Lajoie trying to get around Lackas. Looking for someone. Nice behind the back pass. Got that left side open.
That's the end of the half.
That's the end of the half. The referee called something.
You might put 2 seconds back in the court, back in the clock, I mean.
And that's exactly what they're going to do. Instructed the timekeeper to put the time back on the clock. With the score at the end of the first half.
I don't think they're ending it, are they?
Toronto Bulldogs 12. We're back at Champlain High School with I'm Earl Kane with my co-host Dan Thompson. What do you think of the first half of play?
Well,
Dan?
like the proof of the pudding is that Ottawa, with the personnel shake-up, Judy Zellman being injured and a few lineup changes, even though they have been playing together for 12 or the proof of the pudding is that the Toronto Bulldogs have been the better team so far. I think the reasoning of that is that Toronto has matured in this tournament. They have, like I said, as a national coordinator as well as the provincial coordinator for rugby. He's been doing it for 12 to 13 years himself as well. And the picking is established by Toronto. You see that they're not getting rattled as much. I noticed before in the first quarter that Jimmy Lackas was getting a little bit rattled. Paul called a timeout, settled his play. Toronto's game, you know.
Yeah, they're doing an excellent job of those picks in the middle.
You know, and what you've seen before too is that, like I said, interesting as well, in that the spinning or the 360-degree swivel that they've been doing, they've been very lenient on. However, the situation they've been very strict on and calling the whistle almost immediately. You know, so I'm sure you'll see the same type of thing in the second half. I think Ottawa has tried to open things up a little bit, try to score a couple more goals, maybe perhaps do what Toronto was doing in the dump passes, try to lead somebody along. Like I mentioned before, there is no offside, so you can go along and try to get the goal.
All right. Team should be coming back onto the court shortly. Now, the only time you can go off to the penalty box is on a defensive foul.
You can have a charging call as well.
You can have a charging call?
If you take a run, say from your end down to the other end, and blatantly wheel right into somebody, that's what they call a charging call. A picking call on offense, because or a spinning call, because if I'm blocking for you as a ball carrier, I'm obviously trying to tie the other team, sort of thing, whatever. If I was to set up a pick situation and actually spin somebody, well, then again, it'd be the same situation on defense or offense.
But for the most part, the offense of possession.
No.
I was reading the rule book, and that's the
spin.
If it's a spin, then it's a penalty.
It's a middle penalty.
Yeah.
But a lot of the calls, yes, like I say, are just a turnover situation. All depends on what the call is. I mean, hit somebody, if I actually hit the person, well then obviously it's a foul. You're off for a minute, offensively or defensively. If there's a charging call, again, you're ejected for a minute. Those are the offensive ones that you would be off for a minute. It's just a matter of loss of ball and a turnover. See Paul Spirinowski giving his players, he's talking to Jimmy there. I'm sure he's going, and now he's drawing a few plays on the ground. On the Ottawa bench, trying to talk about what's going on.
at their strategies before they take the court to start this third quarter of play. The game is broken up in 4 quarters, 8-minute with stop time.
Flashing the scoreboard now.
12-9, the visitors, Toronto, and the home team being the Ottawa Stingers.
See Brian McDonald and Mike Lajoie from the Ottawa Stingers. Trying to give him a little bit of advice. Both these players have been playing for quite a few years. Well, looks like we're getting the buzzer minute warning, and looks like play.
Okay, taking the court for the Stingers is the captain, Don Johnson, number 34, Mike Lajoie, and Brian McDonald. For Toronto, it'll be Sam.
The cheer. Yes, remember they're switching ends this half too.
And Dennis Mackey.
Now you notice at the beginning of the game there was a jump ball. However, from now on, from the beginning to the end, there's an alternating process, and then of course the ball halftime they actually took the ball out of bounds by the Ottawa Stingers.
There's a quick goal right off the bat by the Stingers. Lajoie has the ball. Black is heading up.
Jimmy Lack is an open lane on the left-hand side.
Now
again,
should have bounced that ball.
Jimmy was so concerned about coming in and scoring, he wasn't aware of the 10 seconds.
And the coach for Toronto, he's not pleased about that.
Paul's noted for that.
Pajot takes the throw in to the captain, Don Johnson. Don runs into Brian McDonald. So they're calling spin foul on Sam Simpson. Still go to the box for a minute.
A little inconsistency on the rest part. That didn't seem to be the blatant obvious.
The refs saw it differently.
Sure, exactly.
Now there'll be a throw in for the backcourt. Pajot to take the throw in. Ottawa on a pass to Lajoie.
Again, they should score quite easily here, having a 4-on-3 situation. Blocks there. Jimmy comes out the Sterling, and there you go. There should be a block right here in the middle. And comes in quite easily. But that's what Jimmy was getting frustrated about in the second quarter there. He was trying to... And even in a power play situation, Toronto was having problems scoring.
So we have a 1-point game. Toronto now 12-11 over the Ottawa. Brian McDonald from the end line. Joe quickly, Simpson on Pajot. Pajot trying to break free. Brian McDonald helping out.
Very effective press situation by Toronto because they only have 15.
Pass for Don Johnson. Brian McDonald now catching up to the ball. Ball up to be Toronto's ball.
Good call by the official. What you notice there is that that was a very, very effective press situation by the Toronto play, forcing the turnover because Don Johnson and Brian McDonald were too little too late getting down and getting the ball.
Lacus comes over to take the throw in. That's up for grabs. Pajot picks it up.
Thinking there. I don't know if he fanned it.
Didn't look like anybody was open or anybody. And Brian McDonald has an easy lane here
because of the excellent
because of the.
You notice the picking there. It happens all the time. I can't mention it time and time again. Everybody notices the goal scorer, Brian McDonald, coming in. He's got a pick by Mike Lajoie, who normally is carrying the ball. There it is right here. You notice the play right here. You notice the pick right there, backing right into him.
Lajoie picks.
And there you go. By that time, the goal is scored.
Ooh, quite the collision between Simpson and Lajoie. That's her second trip to the penalty box this game.
Second quarter, or third quarter here. That's unusual, though. The officials seem to be doing a turnabout now. I wonder if they'll be before the whistle.
Black has bounced past Simpson. Now Toronto should have an easy lane here somewhere. Black is patiently.
Jimmy's doing equipment timeout here. He didn't seem comfortable in his chair. He seems to be adjusting his feet. Same problem that happened in the second quarter there. And being a smart veteran, that luxury of doing that as a player, as opposed to trying to continue, and perhaps a foot falling off.
Bounce pass to Simpson from Lacus. Simpson now with the ball. Bounce pass gets 10 fresh seconds.
Drive for a hole. Notice a pick there by Jimmy. And again, the call on the right-hand side of your screen. Call.
Powell, pop pass.
We have a tie up there. If they keep them held, they have them all boxed in. You got to remember, very effective. They only have 15 seconds to get it over half.
Brian McDonald.
And there he. What was the call there? I didn't get the call.
It's a timeout.
Timeout call by Black. I wasn't sure if that was a 15-second call that we were looking for, or I guess they were called a timeout.
It was getting close to the 50. This is turning out to be a really excellent game, one of the best I've seen.
But Ottawa's coming back. I mean, Toronto only has a 13-12 lead. And like I mentioned in our halftime break, I said that Ottawa's going to have to make a move. They seem to be. It's not that, but you know, obviously instead of having a 3-point lead, there's only a 2-point lead, and anything can happen in you know, the remaining part of the third.
And now it's a 1-point lead.
Yeah.
Well, Toronto will be still one man to the good, coming back from this timeout. A little more contact before the play starts. Brian Powell to take the throw in.
There you go, Lajoie sneaks it down the left-hand side.
Locked off. And they decide on black ball.
Ottawa checked out by Tam Simpson. That was actually a very that lane and preventing Lajoie from waltzing in and scoring a goal.
Pop past Lajoie a little too far.
Nice try, though. That was a smart play by Brian McDonald.
The right idea, just a little too far. Ottawa's doing a really nice job.